And last week we saw the first 14 shlokas in chapter 8, which is Akshara Brahma Yoga. And as you may recall, chapter 8 flows from the last two shlokas in chapter 7, where Krishna talked about the importance of the final moments of our life. Then he also introduced a few technical terms. So that's how chapter 8 started. And in reply to that, Sri Krishna started. First three shlokas were clarifying what is Adi Yajnam, Adi Devam, Adi Bhutam, all that. Then from shloka 5 to 14, we saw up to 14 shloka. From shloka 5 to 14, Sri Krishna talked about these final moments of our life. This is not a scary idea. This is not a wishful thinking. We have to understand it very clearly. There is a very deep message that he gives through these shlokas. And in simple terms, the message is we live for the last moment, actually. This birth has a meaning only for that last moment. All of us have a last moment. So this birth is about the last moment of one's life. In a lighter vein, if I have to explain this birth is all about how do you have this last sleep which is peaceful. So that is the idea with which yes. You can minimize this. This can be okay. This is fine. Put it down so that we don't have a problem. Why is this not full screen? I don't know. Anyway, this is today's class. This is okay. I think it should be all right. Let's not worry too much. Okay. So this last moment of one's life, in a lighter vein, it is about saying we live for the last moment, we should have a peaceful sleep. I think that is the message. And therefore from shloka 5 to 14, so 10 shlokas, which is the first part of chapter 8, Sri Krishna only talked about this idea, although he used the first three shlokas for the technical terms. So I want you to remind you the two shlokas. 7th shloka in chapter 8, which says Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha Mayarpita Mano Buddhihi Mameva Eshyasi Asamshayaha. You remember me 24/7. Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. Fight this life. Go through these vagaries of life that you need to go through. But if you can develop a habit of thinking about me all the time, you will reach me. That's what he said in the 7th shloka. In the 14th shloka, he said, Ananya chetaha satatam yomam smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. So again, he bracketed the same idea in the 7th shloka and the 14th shloka. And in between he even said, Omit Vyaharan, how do you Aditya Varnam Tamasaparastat, all those we saw. So his entire theme is to say that we live for the last moment of our life. And of course 1 or 2 shlokas we saw in which he said what happens in the last moment of our life leads the trajectory for us in terms of this continuity that we have. So that is why he talked about this issue. So that is what we saw in the first 14 shlokas. So we will see from the 15th shloka. So this is the second part of chapter 8, because this chapter is called Akshara Brahma Yoga. So what is this Akshara Bhava? What is this imperishable nature? That has to be established. So the second half of the chapter actually talks about that. And there are some mind-boggling ideas which our ancestors have thought about. In fact, I actually want to bring references from Srimad Bhagavatam. I started it last class. I want to show you to what extent they have thought about this notion of time. It's mind-boggling simply. So that is also there, which is the second part. And the chapter ends with Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. We will see those today. So far he said, what you think at the 11th hour is what you would be going forward. So with that, the discussion continues. So he says in the 15th shloka, Mam upetya punarjanma dukkalayam ashashvatam na apnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramam gataha. So what does he says? Mahatmanaha na apnuvanti. These great people don't reach there. Where would they not reach? Na apnuvanti. They won't reach. Where will they not reach? That is here. Punarjanmam dukkalayam ashashvatam. This janma and marana, dukkha, these are all nothing but at one level, if you think about it, we must be tired of this game. How long? Even a child which plays a video game, after some time it is tired. So it cannot be, it cannot be anything other than dukkha from that perspective. I mean, there is no charm. That's why this punarjanma has two adjectives here. Dukkhalaya. It is the alaya for dukkha. It is that repository of dukkha. That's what he is saying. And it is ashashvatam. That's a problem. Nobody can live impermanently, permanently forever. It's a very impermanent idea. That's why this punarjanma is dukkhalayam. It is also ashashvatam. That place these people don't reach. Na apnuvanti punarjanma dukkalayam ashashvatam. Who doesn't reach? Mahatmanaha. Why? Because mam upetya. They actually reached me. Because they reached me, they are not going to go here. That is what Krishna is saying. Mam upetya mahatmanaha. And what kind of destination they have reached? Samsiddhim paramam gataha. That is the ultimate that you have to reach. Reaching me is the ultimate thing that can happen. Because these Mahatmas have reached there, they will not go here. They will not na apnuvanti punarjanmaha, which happens to be dukkhalaya and ashashvatam. Then he goes on to say, Abrahma bona lokaha punaravartinorjuna mam upetya. Same thing he says. Mam upetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. He has included everything that you can think of into the list of people, list of entities which will go through this cycle of birth and death. He has included everything. See, this a in Sanskrit, a is used, it's a panchami. A is used for from. A Himalayam, A Kanyakumari is Bharatam. A is usage for from. So he says, A Brahma, starting from Brahma, Bhuvanaha, Lokaha, all this world, everything starting from Brahma. So why he use the word Brahma? I will bring Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very elaborate calculation available there. I will show you. Mind-boggling numbers are there. So he says, Abrahma bhuvanan lokaha punaravartino arjuna. This universal law, nobody on earth, including Brahma, can escape. Brahma's life has been calculated. So many trillion years, I will show you. So after so many trillion years, he also has to go back. That is the schema which he is talking about. So Abrahma Bonan Lokaha Punaravartinaha. They will all come and go. Arjuna, hey Arjuna. But Mam Upetya Tu is Parantu. But Mam Upetya, having reached me, hey Kaunteya. These are all Sambodhana. Hey Kaunteya. Punarjanma na vidyate. So the only way you can escape the clutches of birth and death is to reach me. Right? So that is what he has said here. So he has planted a very important idea here. The idea he has planted here is this birth and death is not for this mosquito which is a few hours, or not only for us which is the design strength is 100 years. Right? It is not even for us. He says it is even for Brahma, Vishnu Shiva, that Brahma. That's what he is saying here. He is saying everybody will go through this cycle. The periodicity, that is the only difference. That's a very important idea he has put here. He is emphasizing this is actually a losing game. Please understand it. You have to develop escape velocity and go out of it. Just because you reach a higher position, it doesn't mean you will escape. That is the point he is making. There is something much higher and you have to develop that escape velocity. And if you develop that escape velocity, that will take you to me. Only by coming to me, you actually develop that escape velocity and then you escape the cycle of birth and death. That's what he is saying. So I will now, why is it that in Bhagavad Gita there is this word Abrahma Bonan Lokaha? Please understand the greatness of Bhagavad Gita. If you read Bhagavad Gita, understand Bhagavad Gita, 700 slokas, you don't have to read actually Upanishads. You don't have to read Brahma Sutra. Everything is actually very nicely, very nicely they are, it's like extracting the juice and giving you the, throwing away all the pulp and giving you the essence. It's like that. So from where did it come? I will show you Prashna Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad, it is there. I mean, it become too much for me to go. I will show a little bit of Prashna Upanishad. I will show you the Purana, Bhagavata Purana. I actually showed this shloka last week and then we stopped here. So there is one chapter in Srimad Bhagavata Puranam, in Tritiya Skandam. There is 11th chapter in which Vidura asked Maitreya, please tell me what is this notion of time. Ancestors were very concerned about time, more to understand the curiosity of this Kala. Understand this grand cycle called time, they wanted from that perspective. So he asked a question, what is this notion of time, can you tell me? Because they say Shatan Jivema Sharadas Shatam, Pashyema Sharadas Shatam, Jivema Sharadas Shatam. That's what Shruti says. Let us see for 100 years. Nandama Sharadas Shatam, Modama Sharadas Shatam, Ajitasyama Sharadas Shatam. Let us be unconquered, but 100 years. So the design strength is 100 years. So there is this curiosity of what is this time? What is this meaning of life? That's a question which Vidura asked, and in answering that question, in that chapter, first a unit of time was defined using a scientific experiment. It is a classic scientific experiment where he says, we saw it last class, Dwadasharda Palonmanam, Dwadasharda, which is 6 pala weight, Chaturbir Chaturangulaihi, also 4 palas weight, and Chaturangulaihi, 4 inches long, Swarna Mashaihi, golden needle, Kridachitram, pierce a hole with that golden needle which is 4 palas heavy and 4 inches long, so the diameter is there. So, and put that prastha is the copper vessel, into a water body and find out Yavat is a time. Up to what time? If you have to say up to what time in Sanskrit, you have to say Yavat Paryantam. So up to what time? Plutam. It gets full. The water starts seeping through the bottom into the vessel. The vessel will submerge. The moment the vessel is full, stop the stop clock. That is the definition of time. For a Nadika. That is the definition called Nadika. In this chapter, there are only 31 shlokas. Beautiful shlokas. Mind-boggling shlokas. These 31 slokas will just blow your mind. That is the grandeur of time they have understood, which is there in this. I will pictorially show the 31 slokas. I don't want to go through the 31 slokas, but I have drawn a chart. I have taken the essence of 31 slokas and put a chart. I'll just show you only the chart. Charts rather, there are 3 charts. So the first 14 slokas or some 13 slokas in Bhagavata Puranam, that chapter has this. It basically says Paramanu, there are 2 Paramanus which make an Anu. There are 3 Anus which make a Trasrenu. There are 3 Trasrenus which make a Triti. That's why 3 into 3 into 2, 18. So 18 Paramanus, this is the measure of this for this. So 3 into 3 into 2 is 18. So 18 Paramanus can make a Triti. And 1800 Paramanus can make a Veda. So like that, I have just put this number here. So all that, Kashta, Lagu, Nadika, this Nadika was that experiment. So he went on giving the units, but in between he inserted a definition. So I used the definition and connected all these. Otherwise, how would I get this? That's why I wanted all this. Because he said, Prahara is, he said, 1/4 of daytime. That's what he says. 3 hours is what he says makes a Prahara. So now this, I know what is 1/4 of daytime is 12 hours is the long term average. Sometimes day is longer, sometimes night is longer, but the average is 12 hours, 6 to 6 and 6 to 6. So 1/4 of that is 3 hours. Moment I got a number like that, I backward everything. Because I have a unit now. So 3 hours divided by 328 lakhs 050, 328 million is the value of this. That is what this number is. That's how I got these numbers actually. Because somewhere I could get the today's measurement of time.
So this is the seconds, huh?
This is hours. No, this is unit. So you multiply 3 hours into 60 into 60, that many seconds in the numerator, put this in the denominator, you will get that number. Because this many make it. Anyway, so that's how I got the Paramanu is 10 power minus 5 seconds.
Nimesha is what?
Today is Nimisha. It's a different, it's called Nimesha.
Nimesha.
Not Nimesha.
Okay, these are Paramanus.
These are how many Paramanus will make. That's why I showed you.
What's the lowest measure?
That is the low. In fact, in our scheme of things, Paramanu is the lowest measure for time, for weight, for distance. In fact, some other time I will show you the Paramanu equivalent for time. Time is here. I will show you for distance and weight later. In some other occasion, probably I will.
It's also called atom. No?
This is subatomic.
Paramanu is about half of atom.
No, 1/3. Half, yeah, half, roughly half kind of a thing. Anyway, we can't directly say like that, but then the shloka goes on. Then it says, 4 praharas make a daytime. Now then it talks about human calculation. It says, these are all we know. The shloka in the chapter says 15 days make a fortnight, and then 2 fortnights make 1 month, 2 months make a ritu. This is all we know. And then 3 ritus make an ayana, Dakshinayana and Uttarayana, and then 2 ayanas make a year. Now and the shloka very clearly says, right from Brahma, whatever this God has created, that ultimate God has created, He has given a lifespan of only 100 years for everyone. That's also there in the chapter. So 100 years make our lifespan. So he explains all this. Then Vidura asks, that's all right, but tell me about Devas and Bhrigus, what happens to them? Then the second part of the chapter opens. So there it moves here. Then he says, let me talk about Pitrus now, departed souls. Right? So it says 1 month for 1 month of human measurement is equal to 1 day. Today science says exactly that. You read general theory of relativity. If you travel in the speed of light, you will find the equivalences like this. There are some very nice books available which talks about this. But the biggest assumption is we should be able to. In fact, I have seen when I was about 8th standard, 9th standard, I read one such book from Mir Publishers, Moscow. So there is a photo to explain the general theory of relativity. The photo goes like this: two people are there. One fellow says goodbye to him. Then he travels in the velocity of light and comes back. By the time he comes back, he is old. That's how they have described. General theory of relativity will explain this. This is a scientific fact actually. So anyway, so the chapter goes and says 1 month of a human, our measurement clock is 1 day of a Pitru. And that is why Masa Tarpana is done. Right? That's what, it's all about.
Doing it yearly, sir.
Huh? No, Masa Tarpana. What I am talking, that is Shraddha. That is different. You give them water to drink or something. Anyway, so 1 month makes 1 day. And actually there is something called Shannavati. If they do properly, there are 96 times in a year you have to do Tarpana. And Tarpana is offering water to the departed souls. 96 times it has to be done. So actually, it is 96 times in the daily routine, if I have to put it like that. This Masa Tarpana is just 12. I said a very crude number actually. Then, so let's now calculate there. Now we will calculate everything in our measure because we know only our measure. So there 1 year will be 365 human months. Because 1 month is 1 day. 365 days make a year. So Pitru's 1 year will be 365 months. So their lifespan is also 100. So it will be 36,500 human months will be the life of a Pitru. Divided by 12 you will get the years. Right? That's what this number is. Then Maitreya goes further and he says 1 year of a human year is equal to 1 day of the gods. This is, Aditya, all the gods. Devas, celestial gods. So our 1 year will be their 1 day. So their 1 year will be 365 human years because each year is 1 day for them. So 360 of them make 1 year for them. And their lifespan will be 36,500 human years. Correct? Now the entire calculation is not done like this. Entire calculation is done only with 360. You may ask why. It took a while for me to understand why. There are 5 techniques. I found it in the same chapter. There are 5 words. One is called Vatsara. Another is called Parivatsara. Another is called Iduvatsara. Another is called Samvatsara. I will tell you, I don't remember exactly, I cannot map one on one. Samvatsara is 12 months make a Samvatsara, which is what we have chosen to use. Right? There is something called Iduvatsara. Iduvatsara is exactly 30 days. That's why the 360 is coming. I mean, it's just a measurement thing they have used. This is a continuum. So it doesn't really matter where you start, where you end. The leap year are all our own, Israel for Vyavahara we are doing all that. You can have a certain measurement scheme. In fact, the pre-Caesarean calendar was only 10 months. July and August are added later. So it's only a convenience. And it is a continuum. So there is Iduvatsara, which is 360 days. All calculations are with Iduvatsara, it looks like. There is Parivatsara, which is actually the time taken by, I think, Jupiter to go one round, which is a little less than a year. That's why Guru Pairchi comes, this Jupiter moves every year, roughly a few days less than 1 year. So that is one calculation. That is a notion of a year. Then there is another notion of a year, which is exactly new moon day to new moon day, which is the Chandrayana. That is another. Then there is another version, 5th version, I don't know the term exactly. 5th version is, I think, called Vatsara. That is moon going through the 27 stars, so 27 days. So this calculation is based on 360 days. So henceforth I will show you 360 days. So don't ask me why, because they have used a certain, there are 4 or 5 measures in place. They are using a 360 day measurement. So if you use a 360 day measurement, this will become 3000. Because this will become, there is no 500, it will be 36,000. 36,000 divided by 12 will be exactly 3,000. And this will be 36,000. The 500 will go. So now the last calculations are on 360. So
But also we have a lifespan.
Yeah. This model is very elaborate. That's what I am saying. It is very elaborately described, not just in one place. I have pulled out from Bhagavata Purana. But it is available in a few places. That's exactly what I am trying to tell you.
Celestial gods includes Vayu, Varna.
Yeah.
What does it mean when you say lifespan is?
Yeah, I'll just wait for the next slide. Just wait. Okay. Now, Krishna said, Aap Brahma Bonan Lokan Punaravartina Arjuna. So now I have to fix a life for Brahma also. So that's where the calculation comes. Now I went to Excel sheet because otherwise it is difficult for me. So I put a table now. So it goes as follows. Now there is a concept called Yuga. So it has Krita Yuga, Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. Now Maitreya says, this is the proportion, everything is now in celestial years. Which is, one celestial year is, remember, 36,000 human years. I am now converting everything to human years in the last column. It's a simple mathematics. Okay? So 4,000, 3,000, 2,000 and 1,000. This is what makes up a yuga. But every yuga has a junction point. 10% on both sides. Sandhi and Sandhyasama, there are two technical words they use. So here 400 on one side and 400 on the other side, so effectively it is 4,800. And 3,000, both sides 300, so that's how this number is. Now I can multiply all of them with 36,000 years. I want to convert everything to our measurement now. Right? Let's say Kali Yuga is 4,32,000. Take your Panchanga and see. Sesha Kali is now 4,26,000.
Where are we now, sir?
5,100 years we have crossed. 5,112 years we have crossed.
Out of the 4.
Out of 4,30,000, you take any Panchanga, you will find a term, a data called Sesha Kali. The Sesha Kali will be this minus for. I will come to all that.
There is no hope then, there is only hopeless.
There is a lot of hope now, actually. Wait a minute.
4 lakh years.
Anyway, I also want to tell you there is a very interesting shloka in this chapter. When Maitreya talked about the 4 yugas, there is one shloka which says that in Krita Yuga, this dharma will have 4 components, and in Satya Yuga, 1 component will be lost, right? And then it will be only 3. Then when it comes to Dwapara Yuga, 2 will be lost, and then in Kali Yuga there will be only 1.
That is depicted by that Nandi standing.
So that's also there. Since it is not pertaining to us, I am not really.
This Treta Yuga, which is called Treta.
Treta Yuga.
So it is not part of this.
It's equivalent. That's the other word.
And you will be explaining what you mean by pit.
I am not intending to get there.
The parted soul.
Yeah, I am not intending to get there because that will distract out of it. Maybe sometime later we will see if we can. We will go too far away from. Okay, so one yuga, then one cycle of yuga is summation of all these, which is actually 10 times of this. So you add one more 0 here, you get this, because it is 12,000, which is 10 times this. So I just added one more 0. So 43,20,000 human years is one yuga cycle. Now let's find out where is Brahma now. Now the shloka in the chapter goes further and it says daytime of Brahma is 1,000 yuga cycles, which means I add 3 more zeros by the side of this. That's what I have done. 1,000 yuga cycles make daytime of Brahma, which is 12 hours of Brahma in our time, in our years. And night time is another 1,000 yuga cycles. So 124 hour for Brahma is this much.
8.64 billion.
8.64 billion human years is 124 hours of Brahma. Right? And that is called a kalpa. It's called kalpa. Actually kalpa and pralaya. This is Kalpa and this is Pralaya. Together they call it as Kalpa. One day is 8.6 billion years of our measurement. Okay? Now the shloka also says, during that one day, there will be 14 Manus who will be, it's a big organization structure. Very clearly laid out things. It's a very serious thing actually. There are 14 Manus. So which means we divide it by 14, Manu's life is now fixed. One Manu will be only so much. Then he is gone. His life is over now. The next Manu has to come. It's like Manmohan Singh going and then Narendra Modi coming. There are positions. Manu is not a person, it is a position. Please understand, Brahma is a position. Surya, Vayu and all those are positions. Who occupies your karma bala will take you there. They are all available elsewhere. I am not getting, Chandogya has it, I am not getting there now.
So
They are only,
of
of course we can. Indra, in all Puranas, Indra is a very reachable kind of entity, it looks like. In Puranas we see quite often that references. And they say so and so became Indra and all that are there. So it is only indicating all these are positions, not people. Anyway, so each Manu is this. Now Brahma also has only 100 years. Shloka says that. That's why Abrahma Bonan Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. That is why I brought this much. I want to tell you, even Brahma has a finite time. That finite is an infinite in our scheme of things. So 100 years of Brahma is, this is one day of Brahma. So I multiply this with 100 into 360, I get Brahma's life now. That is this number. And half of his life is called Pararda. That's a technical word. You know why I am saying all this?
311.
Wait. You call a Purohit tomorrow. He will say Mamopata Samasta. You can make a lot of sense to all that now. That's why I am telling all this. Durita Kshayadvara, all that you say. Vaivaswata Manvantre, Dvitiya Pararde. We are now in Dvitiya Pararda. That reference is somewhere in another place. Vyasa has said that. We are in Dvitiya Pararda, which means the current Brahma who is in operation, 50 years is over for him. The one Pararda is over. He has only 2 Parardas, because Pararda is half. So Dvitiya Pararde, we are in Shweta Varaha Kalpa. We are in the second Kalpa actually. The first Kalpa is called Padma Kalpa. The second Kalpa is called Shweta Varaha Kalpa, which means we are in the second day of his age of 50. 50 years is over.
2 days.
We are in the second day. The 2 days is not over. We are in the second day now. Shweta Varaha Kalpe, Vaivaswata Manvantre. So there are 14 Manus in one day itself. So the Manu is actually the 7th Manu. That reference is also 8th Manu. He is the son of Vivashwan. That's a Vaivaswata Manvantre. Ashtavimshati Tame. So a Manu has 72 cycles, Yuga cycles, up to which he will be the king. Because this divided by 1000 divided by 14 will be about 71 point something. So now we can ask, where am I now? Ashtavimshati, which is 28. So all these are part of Sankalpa. It's not some blabbering. They are all connected to, if you know it, you can connect to these ideas. This is what a Purohit will say.
Yeah.
He will say, Vaivasutamanasre, Ashtavimshatitame, Pratame Pade, Dutiye, all that. He will say, anyway. All these I brought because Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bonan Lokaha. So what is the life of Brahma? It is here. This is a kind of number.
So where is the reference material for the Purohit to say that on what?
Okay. I will point you to a mind-boggling book if you are interested. I was just going over it. This is a Motilal Banarsidass book called The True History. It's mind-boggling to read. It's a stunning piece of work. I was stunned. I couldn't complete reading this book. I only read because it's kind of, but it's a mind-boggling book by the Swamiji called, Prakashananda Saraswati. This is the, book. This is actually the book image. The True History and Religion of. There are phenomenal data.
He is a disciple of Kripaloji Maharaj.
And he was offered, apparently that's what it's saying, the Sankaracharya of Jyotirmat, which he did not take. He went to US and all that he did. It's a mind-boggling book actually. Motilal Banarsidass has this book. First time when I read this book only I got connected to Srimad Bhagavatam for this reference. So I found that reference here and then I went there and read.
Same time cycle in Ramayana is also given. Same time cycle.
Huh. In fact, there are many references of the same. So it is not just one person said. Vyasacharya has said it in a few Puranas. He has actually established it. All those details are there in that book.
Authenticated by Devi Gundappa.
I see.
True religion and
But Lahari Maharshi says,
The true history of India and religion. Huh?
Lahari, Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda books, they say Kali Yuga is only 4,600 years and Krishna was born, now we are in Dwapara, something like that.
No, there are many versions like that. I have also read Paramahansa Yogananda's book Kaivalya Darshan.
Yes.
It's a small book.
Yeah.
It talks about magnetic force and those. There are different people have actually looked at it in different ways. But there is vast majority of Puranas are saying this. And to us, Prasthanatraya is the pramana in this country. In this country, this is very important for us, for believers to understand. The pramana in this country is Shruti pramana. Nothing else. All others you can take it. If you are in doubt, the only way you can resolve it is Shrutis, which are the Upanishads. And the Prasthanatrayas, Brahma Sutra, Dashopanishad and Bhagavad Gita is the pramana. So that is the grand text with which you can bring anything and merge into it. So that's the position people have really taken. But I also read that book called Kaivalya Darshan, Paramahamsa Yogananda's, where he talks about that. Anyway, why I said that calculation, the shlokas will make sense now. Look at the shlokas now. He says, Avyaktat Vyaktayaha Sarvaha Prabhavanti Aharagame Ratriyagame Praliyante Tatra Eva Avyakta Samjnake. So now Krishna says, he talks about this daytime of Brahma and nighttime of Brahma. He says what happens during daytime of Brahma, which itself is some trillion years. During daytime of Brahma, from Avyakta everything becomes Vyakta. The unmanifested form becomes manifested. Right? Sarvaha Prabhavanti. In fact, there is a lot of detail in that particular book I have read, and he has given, it's a plenty of cross references. It is not just he wrote out of his his own imagination and ideas, which may also be sometimes true. There's a lot of cross references in that book. What he is saying, he even says how this, when the pralaya happens, the question that we have, these are all the typical questions like when you hibernate a computer. What happens when it's like a hibernation. When you hibernate, what happens? All the current things are actually put somewhere. All the current fat entries, everything, whatever is required, I may not know the exact technical word. The current snapshot of the reality is put in suspended animation. And then when you come and then open it again, they are brought back from that situation. Very similar description is there. How when the pralaya happens, because whatever is very foolproof. Let's say I happen to be, a few years before pralaya, I happen to be there. We'll take a hypothetical situation. I have done great things, great virtues in 30 years. You can't just like that throw me. I must be rewarded. This is the paradigm of our living, no? That's why in chapter 5 he said, kartrutvam, na kartrutvam karmani, na karma palam srijati prabhu, sobhavastu vartate. This is a grand conception. You put your effort and you take back. So the question is, just before pralaya, if there are so many people, should they all get lost in the process? No. That is why that model says this will be put in a suspended animation. It will only be, he will fold everything into his belly in a very figurative sense. If you have to understand that so-called Ishvara will fold everything inside. That's what it says. Ratri agame, when the night comes, his night time comes, praliyante, everything will be taken. Tatrayeva avyakta samchake, then they all become unmanifested form. Aharagame, when the daytime comes. It actually in this chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, in that chapter, a little bit of detail is also available. How exactly it happens, that's also some references, not much discussion, little references are there. So that is what it says. Then what does Krishna says? He says, Paraha tasmatu bhavo anyaha avyaktaha avyaktat sanatanaha. This is the Akshara Brahma is finally established here. What he says, but tu paraha tu tasmat is a panchami vibhakti, apadana, separate from that, other than that. Whenever you have to say, you have to use the fifth case. That's why he says tasmat means from all these chakkar and all that happening, everything folded in, everything put back, all these is referred to this tasmat. Paraha tasmatu bhavaha, but there is some other bhava. Anyaha, there is something else is there. And what is that? Avyaktat avyaktaha. It is not this kind of unmanifestation. This is a real silent force which is always unmanifested. Avyaktat avyaktaha anyaha bhavaha. Krishna says this manifestation, unmanifestation is a temporary thing. There is an unmanifested force which is causing all this. This is now name and shape are coming and going. Who is doing it? There is an unmanifested form. That is the Akshara Brahma. This is the title song for the chapter, so to say. Correct? So he says, Avyaktat avyaktaha. Something which is unmanifested other than the unmanifestation which I talked. Anyaha bhavaha. And what is that? Sanatanaha. That is forever. That is not subjected to all these. That is there. Mud as a property will always exist. But out of mud, there may be Vyakta and Avyakta, which will happen. You will make a mud pot, you will make a flower vase, you may make a madake, a small little plate. So that plate will again go back to mud. The mud will take another shape. But this property of mudness is something. The property of mudness exhibit as mud. That mud goes through Vyakta and Avyakta. Look at this, there are two layers now. There is an intrinsic property called mud. That is Avyakta, that is not Vyakta. That is always Avyakta. There is an intrinsic property called wood. It is a property. Because there is an intrinsic property called wood, that will allow a possibility of wood becoming Vyakta and Avyakta. Furniture becoming a Vyakta and Avyakta. It can manifest, it can get destroyed, it can be remade in a particular way. So that is the idea here. He says, Avyaktat avyaktaha anyaha bhavaha asti. And then he says, Yaha, that is using actually Pullinga. It is actually Nirguna. You can neither use Pullinga, Napumsalinga, Strilinga, nothing you can use. For practical purposes here you are using these. So you can't, strain your brain on all these matters. Because we have to communicate, so we have to use something. So Pullinga usage here, but that Avyakta, how can it have a Linga if it is Avyakta? So don't worry about the gender usage here. Yaha saha sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. These entire mud particles will all get destroyed and returned back to mud. The entire mud will be washed away. But the intrinsic property of mud exists. So one day mud will come. Where will the mud go? Mud will come one day. Tree will come one day. Because there is something from which tree is coming. I asked, some people ask me, I asked the question, where was the first coffee tree? You can never find out. I don't know where was the first coffee tree. We can say in 1768 one Englishman brought it. I said, where did the Englishman get? Now if you go there, you don't know where you will go. And where are they? There is this intrinsic property of coffee is somewhere. The intrinsic property of Sakala Jiva Jagat, everything is somewhere. That is the Akshara Brahman. And Krishna says you have to focus there and go there. That is the pinnacle of understanding. This is our grand conceptualization of creation. It actually solves a lot of logistical difficulties of explaining because it has taken a very different way. So there is nothing like creation in our scheme of things. There is only something called manifestation and unmanifestation. The question of creation is summarily dismissed. If you have to create, where is the energy coming from? That is where we are stuck today. Moment you say I am going to create, I cannot even create. You know how much energy is required to make one bottle? How much of things are required to make a bottle? Where did they come? And now you are talking about creating a mother earth which will give endlessly what you want for the last thousands of years? I don't think we can create. So this root of creation is where they are stuck. Our conceptualization, they said no. Who said there is creation? It's only you see something, then you don't see.
It's a projection.
It's a projection. Yata urno bihi. That's what in Mundaka Upanishad says. Just like the spider weaves something and takes it back. Spider will weave its own thing and it will take it back also. It is the what is called upadana karana and nimitta karana. Everything is spider only. It supplies the material. It is the doer and it is the consumer. All are same. That kind of arguments are there in Mundaka Upanishad. It is there. Yata urno bihi. There is one shloka like that. I don't remember the shloka fully, but so now Krishna says, I have told you all these. Now I'll tell you how do you go there. This is a much bigger thing that we are talking about. Then he says, Avyaktaha aksharaha iti uktaha tamahuhu paramam gatim. The Akshara Brahma Yoga is defined here. That's where he says Aksharaha. So that which is Avyakta, not the temporary Vikta and Avyakta, because he also has 100 years. That's what all these calculations are all about. There is something which is even causing that. Right? Avyaktaha, and that is Aksharaha. It never gets destroyed. Aksharaha, iti uktaha. That's how it is told. Tamahuhu paramam gatim. That is the ultimate destination for everyone. Please understand. All these intermediate things. Now remember chapter 7. Chaturvida bhaktaha mam prapadyante. Artha bhakti, arthartha bhakti, jignasa, jnani. Now you can understand what bhakti will map to what. A jnani will have bhakti for this. And Artha Bhakti will be for Ganesha and Lakshmi and Saraswati. That's a good way to start. But a Jnani will have Bhakti, his focus is on this. So that is what he says. Yam Prapya, having reached that, again it is using, Pullinga, that's okay. Yam Prapya Nanivartante. This coming back is not there. It doesn't come back. Nanivartante Taddhama Paramam Mama. That's why it's called Parandhama. So he says, Paramam Dhama Mama. That he says, that is my ultimate position. And that position, if you reach, you will not come back. And then he says, how do you reach it? That's what he says in this shloka. He says, Purushaha Saha Paraha Partha, he is the ultimate. Paraha Purushaha Saha Eva. Understand, Partha? Bhaktya Labhyaha Tu Ananyaya. Tu plus Ananya Tvananyaya. Indeed, he can be reached only by bhakti, no other way. Nanya panta ayanaya vidyate. Purusha Sukta said, Na anya panta ayanaya vidyate. There is no other way to reach that. That's what Purusha Sukta also said. Nanya panta ayanaya vidyate. That's what he says. Labhyaha tu ananyaya. He cannot be obtained by any other form other than bhakti. Bhaktya tu ananyaya labhyaha. Right? Yasyantaha stanihi bhutani. That is the ultimate terminus for bhutas. For this entire Sakala Jiva Rashi, that is the terminus. Antani stani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam. From there all these came, and logically that's where it all should go, and the only way to go that is through bhakti. No other way is what Krishna is saying here.
Krishna sometimes refers to him and sometimes says me. How do we...
No, as I told you, after 4th chapter itself, moment he said yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, all that, you have to understand, he has raised him to that is exactly what he did to Arjuna. He said, when I say I, don't look at me as your cousin. That is the very starter of chapter 4. That's why Arjuna asks, Katam yetat vijaniyam tamado proktavanidhi. You are telling something which I don't understand. So the Avatara Purusha was established in chapter 4, shlokas 6 and 7. After that, it is understood when Krishna uses me, I and all that, it is this Akshara Brahma. We have to substitute that meaning only. So, then Krishna, yes.
Is there a gradation here, or does this address all manifested?
No, there are gradations. I didn't get into it. For example, all these, see, there are these 7 lokas. Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Suvarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. All these, in fact, that is also there in that chapter. Here's what happens to Bhrigu. Then the chapter says Bhrigu and all, because this 1 day of Brahma in which this Kalpa and Pralaya is happening, that affects only the 3 lokas. There are lots of details like that. Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, and that's why Pitrus are in Bhuvarloka and then Suvarloka and all that. Celestial gods are in Suvarloka. So it affects only these 3. So it even says, because specifically Vidura asks what happens to people like Bhrigu. He says they will all move to the other loka. Temporarily when this happens and they all will restore, all that is there. But when this Mahapralaya happens, the Parartha, now new sun is created. Latest science says the same thing. Says sun is the youngest planet and the number is some trillion years, which are all matching with the kind of numbers that you are seeing here. So it will, sun, moon, everything will go. So there are 2 layers in which this avyakta will happen. All those gradations are there actually. Okay, so then he ends the chapter having given this direction. Now he says, how are we making this? This seems to be a very long journey. This is an extraordinarily a long journey. How do we make that journey? So for that he introduces Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. That's the ending part of the chapter. You'll see all the 3 shlokas, read it together and then see. It says, Agnir Jyotihi Ahaha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vido Janaha Dhumo Ratris Tata Krishnaha Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandramasam Jyotihi Yogi Prapya Nivartate Shukla Krishne Gatihi Yete Jagataha Sashvate Mate Ekaya Yati Anavrittim Anyaya Vartate Punaha. So there is a definition of Uttarayana, there is a definition of Dakshinayana, and there is a description of where will this path will take and where will that path will take. That's how these 3 shlokas are. So the first shloka, he says Agnihi, Jyotihi, Ahaha. These are all the synonyms for daytime. Brightness, light, daytime. So those are the synonyms being used here. Agnihi, Jyotihi, Ahaha, Shuklaha, white. White is another reference. White is related to light. Black is related to darkness. There is no rocket science in this. These are the equivalent which we use. So it says Agnihi Jyotihi Ahaha Shuklaha, and then he says Shanmasa Uttarayanam. 6 months are Uttarayana. Tatra Prayata Gachanti. So those who go through the path called Uttarayana, Prayata Gachanti, right? Brahma Brahma Vido Janaha. They are the knowers of Brahman. That means they are not going to return. In fact, in many of our Upanishads, in many of our texts, there is a lot of figurative usage. This is where you have to read properly and understand properly. In English translation, I didn't put the English translation here. An English translation of this can be very laughable actually. For a simple reason, although Bhishma Pitamaha signaled some of these, they are all meant for a different reason. If this is what it is, it's much easier for me to manipulate this system. If I am the deathbed and if it is the last day of Uttarayana, I'll ask them to take me to US. Uttarayana will continue for some more time. I can breathe the last there. It's not meant like that. We should not take a narrow meaning like that. Or if it is Dakshinayana, you can lose time or gain time and become Uttarayana coming here. That's not the idea. We'll see it. First we will see what is being told. All that it is saying is, it's all about whiteness, brightness, Jyoti, daytime, and then it says 6 months Uttarayana. This is where the problem is. We'll just leave it for the moment. You leave the Shanmasa and take only the Uttarayana. There is a northern path. Okay? And then it says Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahmaha Brahmavido Janaha. They are people who have realized Brahman, they know what Brahman is, that's why they went through the northern path. That's what this shloka is saying.
The time reference is northern path.
That's what, it is not a time reference. That's exactly what I want to really, because if it is a time reference, then it actually beats the larger. One quick understanding is to take it like that. It's only a tact used to connect it to what we know. This is my own reading of the whole thing.
Time reference, many people will go through Uttarayana by luck. Right?
Yeah, so that is a very illogical thing. I am very convinced our text is never illogical. So if you find something illogical, we have been illogical. This makes life much easy for me. This is called Shraddha. This is one definition of Shraddha. I am very clear, our text is profoundly illogical. If I found it illogical, I have not found it. Period. I live with that understanding. I am not even interested in contesting with anybody. People can have different interpretation of it. So, if I may use my logic, that must be more than that. Then it says, Dhumaha, smoky, Ratri, night, Krishnaha, dark. These are all the counterpart of this. Right? So he says, Dhumaha, Ratrihi, Tata, Krishnaha. Again Shanmasa, Dakshinayanam. This is called the southern path. Then what happens? Tatra Chandramasam Jyotihi. Here this brightness, whatever brightness you see is the lunar brightness. These are all having actually deeper meaning. Because we can't just read a sloka and that's not easy actually. Right? That is because the Pitra's root is called Chandraloka. There are so many cross references. These are all not come arbitrarily. Unless we read all of them, we will not. People jump to conclusion, read something and say this is not good. All that, let people do. That's okay. So, Chandramasam Jyotihi Yogi Prapya Nivartate. So, he uses the word yogi here. And you know why he is using a yogi here? I will give you two references. In Ishavasya Upanishad it says, Avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritam ashnute. So a yogi can at best be in the stage of seeing how to cross the ocean of death. So he is in that process. That's why he is called yogi. So he will come back. The amritatva if he gets, he will go to Uttarayana. He is struggling for, avidyaya mrityum tirtva. Can I exhaust this birth and death cycle? Can happen simultaneously or it can happen immediately and all that, which is fine. So that's the word yogi he is using. A karma yogi. A clean mind has a greater chance of shrinking this. It's a process. In fact, in Chandogya Upanishad, I didn't want to bring it because when I was teaching at that time, I brought all that. In Chandogya, there is a big description of this. If you read it, if you do Ishta and if you do Purta, what will happen? How will you come back? Everything is there. These are all available in Chandogya, actually. Then he says, Sukla Krishne Gatihi Ete Jagataha Shashvate Mate. Please understand, in this world, people who depart this world can only open a southern gate or a northern gate. There is no eastern gate and a western gate, in a figurative sense. That's what it says. Shukla Krishne Gati. Gati is either Shukla Gati or Krishna Gati. There is nothing in between. You go Uttarayana or you go Dakshinayana. That's all it is saying. So Bhishma Pitamaha waiting is to signal that idea. It is, certain things you have to say symbolically. So he was a role model. So people will ask, why is he waiting for Uttarayana? Then people will reflect on this idea. People who are wise will understand this is the meaning, not a calendar date. That is a symbolic reference to focus the attention to people of this idea called there is a northern path and a southern path. That is why he waited. It is not about calendar date. Though the Shanmasa seems to be a little distracting to us, but it is put because for us it is a reference which we know. So it is easy sometimes to connect it to that. To put a tag which we know, that's all. So this is the only way to go. And then he says, Ekaya, if you go through one route, he never said which route, that is already told already. That's why he says, Ekaya Yati. If you go through one route, it says Anavritim, you don't come back. Punaravriti doesn't happen. It's Anavriti. Right? Ekaya Yati Anavritim Anyaya Vartate Punaha. Anyaya Avartate Punaha. So all that he said is, from this world exit can happen only in a northern path or a southern path. And in this shloka says, in one path you will come back. It's only, some timeshare you will have in Swargaloka and then you will have to come back, holiday timeshare. And then you have to come back. In other, if you go for, right? So therefore, first of all, I don't think this is a reference of time. The word Dakshinayana and Uttarayana is typically, people are able to remember that with that time, that's why that is brought. But I think the idea that he is saying is, it is just a reference. It is only saying there is one path which is an ascending path, there is another path which is a returning path. That is the spirit of the whole idea. Now, in order to understand it, you cannot understand from just reading these shlokas. That's why you need to read others. I will bring only Prashnopanishad. Prashnopanishad is again a great Upanishad. 6 disciples go to Pipalada. Each disciple asks one question and one chapter. So the first chapter is about this. First question the child asked was, what is this Uttarayana Dakshinayana? Then Pipalada has some 12 shlokas in which he explains the concept of yin and yang, if I have to use that word today. The world of duality, Prakriti and Purusha, you want to use a word like that, you can use. You want to say yin and yang, you use the word. At several layers he actually describes. I will show you those 2-3 shlokas in which the same idea will also be there. So chapter 1, first 2-3 shlokas are Samitapaneha, they go, and then we want to learn, all those are there. Then comes the subject matter. It says, Prajakamaho vai prajapatihi satapotapyata satapastaptva saha mitunam udpadayate. He says, how did this whole creation started? The whole creation started with a pair. Pair is actually a concept. It is not just male and female. That's one expression of that pair. Pair is a very intrinsic concept. That's a yin and the yang. He says, Prajapati mitunam utpadayate. Mitunam is actually pair. So in Zodiac, Mithuna you will find 2 people with a pipe. That is the icon you see for Mithuna Rasi. Mithuna means a pair. The Gemini. Right? So Mithunam utpadayate. Now this Mithunam, don't immediately think this is a pair of, it is an intrinsic concept called pair of opposites. Night is an opposite pair to day. Uttarayana is an opposite pair to Dakshinayana. Male is an opposite pair to female. This is an intrinsic idea. He created that concept first, out of which many things came. That's what he explained in this chapter. And he used the word Rai and Prana. He says, what is this pair at a conceptual level? This pair is called matter and energy. Today's particle physics also uses similar things. There is something called matter and energy. In every Manushya, there is a pair. One is called Prerana, other is called Samarthya. Prerana comes from Prakriti. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be like this. That's called Prerana. The Samarthya is supplied by Purusha. That soul, Ishvara, the God particle which is there, that is the Samarthya. That's why the moment he goes, you can't even lift your hand. Dead. Moment dead. Dead means Purusha has gone. If Purusha has gone, this Prakriti will be consigned to the Prakriti. The balance is Prakriti. So the Mithuna is a concept. And the concept, the Pipalada first starts by saying Rai and Prana. It's a very conceptual idea. The whole world has what is called matter and energy. That is a concept in which you can fold anything. As I told you, for a Manushya to do Vyavahara, there is a Rayi and a Prana. The Rayi comes through Prakriti, which is called Prerana. The Prana comes through Samarthya, which is the Purusha. That is the idea actually. So he says, Rayim cha pranam cha iti eto me bahuda prajaha karishyat. So this matter and energy said, oh, okay, let's create the world of multiplicity. This is how it started. It's only a concept that if you combine matter and energy, you can get anything. So that idea came. That's how he starts the discussion. Bahuda prajaha karishyata iti. Adityo havai prano raireva chandrama. Now he maps this Rai and Prana. That is what this chapter is. He maps what is Rai and what is Prana. He says Aditya is the Prana and Chandra is the Rai. That's why Dakshinayana is called Chandra Loka and Uttarayana is called Aditya Loka. One is the path of energy, another the path of matter. Matter is Chit and Jada. This is another definition. This is a Jada. The Chit is the Prana. So he says Adityo havai prano raireva chandramaha. It goes on like that. I put a dot because I am not getting into detail. I am coming to our thing. Samvatsaro vai prajapatihi. So for everything there is a creator. That's how he is arguing. So there is a creator called year. He said, now let me create a pair. One is called Dakshinayana, another is called Uttarayana. This is the concept. So he says, Samvatsaro vai prajapatihi tasya ayane dakshinam cha uttaram cha. So he created a pair. One pair is called Dakshinayana, another pair is called Uttarayana. Right? Tadye havai tadi ishtapurte kritam iti upasate te chandramasameva lokam abhijayante. Exactly. If you do ishtapurta, you lead a very clean life. So I want this issue to be understood very clearly, because many people have a confusion on this. If we lead a very dharmic life, that itself is a big challenge for many of us. If we lead a very clean life, a very dharmic life, that only guy, it still says you will come and go. Please understand this idea. That's what he is saying. People who do Ishta and Purta, there is a technical word called Ishta and Purta. For example, if you do, if you dig wells, if you build a patashala, you make a temple, they are called Ishta. And then Purta are, taking care of ancestral. There are different types of goodness that you do. But he says, even if you do all these kinds of goodness, you will be in Chandraloka only. Which means you will go and come. You may be better off. When you come, you will have less vyadi. Your troubles can be less. But then, how long can you be here? That also you will start, you find it is boring. It doesn't work. So even if you do Ishtapurta kritam iti upasate. My upasana is I will do Ishta and Purta. I lead a very clean life, dharmic life, good life. He says still you will be going through Chandra. Through that path, lunar path. Which is matter. It's not, prana, it is Rai. Tayeva punaravartante. They will come back. That's what it says. Tayeva punaravartante tasmat etaha rishayaha prajakamaha dakshinam pratipadyante. Those who are interested in getting praja, increase this progeny, janma after janma after janma, such people will do a clean job of it, come and go. This is what it is saying. Right? Yeshaha havai raihi yaha pitriyanaha. So this is the path of Pitrus. So you go, come back, go, come back. Pitraloka, Chandraloka is called Pitraloka. You can go and come back. He says that is this path. So he defines this yin yang in several layers. In that Uttarayana Dakshinayana also he uses. There are very figurative usage of the concept. You have to get the concept done, look at it and get stuck with Uttarayana and Shanmasa and that's what many people do. We get stuck with this tag because we know the tag and then we strain our brain around the tag. Then he says, otherwise, right? Uttarena tapasa brahmacharyena shraddaya vidyaya. Vidyaya amritam ashnute is what Ishavasya Upanishad said that Vidya, Paravidya, not Aparavidya. This is Paravidya. In Mundaka Upanishad it says Paravidya and Aparavidya. Starting of Mundaka Upanishad it says there are only two, Paravidya and Aparavidya. Same ideas are there in all Upanishads. So Uttarena, and how do you go to Uttara? Not through Ishtapurta. Ishtapurta will take you through Dakshinayana. Here what you need tapas, you need brahmacharya, you need shraddha. So there are three words which describe what is this method to go to the northern path. Tapasa brahmacharyena shraddhaya vidyaya. You need the right knowledge. All the worldly knowledge are called apara vidya. We are talking about para vidya here, ultimate knowledge. Vidyaya atmanam anvishyad adityam abhijayante. They go through the path of sun. Sun is Rai, sun is prana, moon is Rai. Right? Etadvai prananam ayatanam, etad amritam abhayam etad. So this path is immortality. This path is the ultimate ayanam. All those are being told here. It says prananam ayatanam. This is the ayatanam for the pranas. Ultimately we have to go there. Right? Etad amritam abhayam etat. Parayanam etat. Tasmat. Therefore, na punaravartanta. They won't come back. Tasman na punaravartanta iti yeshaha nirodhaha tadeshaha shlokaha. This is what I established through this shloka. You try to understand it. That's what Purusha Sutta is, Prashna Upanishad is saying. Then he goes on. Now he goes to the next level. So he goes to the Masa and says Krishna Paksha. And see, these are very figurative. They are using multiple references only to pinpoint that the world has a pair. You can choose a path of energy or a path of matter. That is the point he is getting. So all these Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, Krishna Paksha, Sukla Paksha, day and night, he goes to all level. Look at here, this is about the Paksha now. Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. So in Bhagavad Gita, he just pulled a little bit, because he can't say all these, you rather read Prashna Upanishad. That's why Bhagavad Gita is actually a juice. It is a distilled reality and ultimate truth so beautifully given to us. God has been so considerate that we can't get into deep things. That's why Bhagavad Gita is the greatest text. Read and make sense of it, understand, try to live by it. We will go to Uttarayana. Really, because that is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. See, this much is there. Unless you know this, you don't understand that part of the story. He says, Maso vai Prajapatihi. Now, this creator takes a form of a Masa. And then he creates a pair now. It's a very figurative way he is explaining. Maso vai Prajapatihi tasya Krishna Paksha eva Raihi. Raihi Shuklaha Pranaha. So again there is a Rai and Prana, which is Shukla and Krishna. Matter and energy. Tasmad etaha rishayaha Shukla ishtam kurvanti itaraha itarasmin. So when they do ishti, they do it in Shukla. Those who want to go through the northern path, itaraha itarasmin. Others do in the other part. Essentially, these are symbolism. These are to remind. It is only to remind us that we should always think of the concept called northern path, which takes us to Surya Loka, which is a path of no return, which is nothing but energy. This is matter. This is to bring all that. So our practices and our dharma acharas are all tied like this, not to get stuck here. By doing it, we may ask, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? Then if we know all the shlokas, we will make sense of why are we doing in Shukla Paksha. That becomes immaterial. The doing Shukla Paksha reminds me of the northern path and the meaning of the northern path, not in a very figurative sense but in a deeper concept. That is why all practices are tied like that. That's why you do good things daytime, not in nighttime. You do in Shukla Paksha, not in Krishna Paksha. You do in Uttarayana. This is more to remind. Spirit is there actually. Right? Then he goes. Ahoratro. Now he goes to a day. Ahoratro vai Prajapatihi. Now this creator says, let me go to a unit called day. 24 hours. Let me create a pair there. Right? So it says ahoratro vai prajapatihi tasya ahareva pranaha. So the energy is day and ratri reva raihi, the matter is night. So it goes on like that.
So illumined state is
So these are all very figurative descriptions. The spirit of what it is saying, at the end of all these, what is Bhagavad Gita saying is aim for the path of no return. He is using all these adjectives to remind, we tell stories because with that story and with that tag we remember a concept. If you leave the concept and get stuck with these details, then it becomes a dry, useless ritual. See, that is how, it becomes a ritual. Stories are very important because that's how we'll remember. It's much easier for me to remember. So with all these, if I say, every time when Krishna Paksha, Shukla Paksha comes, somewhere this will ring in our mind because we have now gone through a little bit of this idea. It is only propelling us to say, get inspired by the notion of energy than matter. Matter is dull and dead. Energy enlivens it. Prana is more important than Rai. That is the inspiration of these shlokas. So he said all that and he ended the chapter with 2 shlokas. Okay? He said, Naite sriti partha janan yogi muhyati kaschana tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjana. So he started by saying, your last moment of your life is very important. Now he is saying, with the same idea, he is saying, so he said what he has given only so much of raw material for us to, think about what should I think about. So that will come in the 11th hour. So again, here also he says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukta bhava, Arjuna. You must be an yukta, yoga yukta. When? Satatam. Nitya yukta. Tesham nitya abhiyuktanam yoga kshemam mahamyam, he is going to say in the next chapter, in the 22nd shloka. He says, Ananya chintayanto mam yejana pariyupasate. Tesham nitya abhiyuktam. Nitya abhiyukta is satatam. That's why sarveshu kaleshu. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjuna. Because all these, he says, after knowing all these, people don't get deluded, they get clarity, is what he says. He says, yogi na muhyati kaschana. Never. Don't think, having said all these, I am actually instilling fear in you. I am developing clarity in you. A true yogi will get clarity. Oh, this is what it is. This is the meaning of death. This is a chapter about death. It gives a larger meaning of this event called death, about which all of us are worried. Now, if you are talking of so many trillion years and in which 100 years is, what is this? I don't even know how to, count these 100 years. In so many trillion years which we will be going through. So he is making us understand that. Don't worry. So he says, yogi na muhyati, hey Partha, having known all these, janan yogi na muhyati kaschana. Never he will be deluded. Because he now sees the usefulness of this idea. Oh, therefore this is the best thing to do. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjuna. Then he says, Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punyapalam pratishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param stanam upaiti chadyam. So he says, all that you can get out of this, out of yajna, knowledge of Veda, yajna, tapas, dana, all punya palam that you get, right? That's what the first thing it talks about. Whatever that accrues to you, it goes beyond that. Atyeti, right? He says rises above all that. Tat sarvamidam. This refers to this list. Now, one easy way people understand is, that means give up all this. This is how people understand. It never means that. It means that you cannot spend, where this is very, very important. Krishna is saying, this cannot be the end, it will be only a means. That is what he is saying there. He never said, desert all these and then go here. No, it is something like this. If somebody asks me, how do you come to IIM? You have to write CAT. But I tell you, if you cross the interview only, you will come in. That doesn't mean you give up CAT and come directly for the interview. It doesn't work like that. It only says when you reach that maturity there, you have to reach that maturity. Tapas, yajna, dana, all these are very important. Very easily people interpret saying, oh no, Krishna has said these are all not required. What is required is you will never get this without this. Without getting shortlisted through a CAT exam, you will never be called for an interview in IIM Bangalore. Let me tell you that. So although I would say this is important, but that is the only one which will get for you. In no stretch of imagination you should come to a conclusion, don't write CAT. If you don't write CAT, you will never be shortlisted for interview. Similar story here. So don't, because people have a tendency to get like that. They say, achara vichara is not required, deva puja la yenu beda. Clean heart. Where will clean heart will come? Will never come. If you don't do your achara and vichara, you will never become clean. I will take a challenge. All these rational thinking are all very futile. It actually, the fruit has to ripen, only then it becomes sweet. There is no shortcuts in any of these. They are all meant for a much. So religion is a means. For a lot of people, religion becomes a end. For a lot of people, religion becomes irrelevant. Both are bad. Both are useless. Religion cannot be an end. Religion cannot be useless. Religion can be a sensible means for an end. That is what is this shloka. Because there are several shlokas like this in Bhagavad Gita. Don't get an iota of understanding that all those are unimportant. Krishna himself has said. Never. It never means that. That means our lack of understanding of the spirit of what is being told. So he says, even the pala that you get out of all these, which means go through it, you prepare yourself and then launch yourself. You have to prepare in the launch pad before, don't simply launch yourself. Prepare in the launch pad, count down and then launch. This is the countdown and the launch pad for this. So that is what Krishna says in this chapter. So this chapter is all about death. Please understand, knowing about death is an important value in life. We can't know about death after we are dead. Obviously. But it is a profound idea. It is not a scary idea as the Semitic religions and the Western thinking seems to point. It's not.
It seems to me that black hole, they are talking astrophysics. Does it?
No, they are actually, they started this expanding universe. Then they said Big Bang Theory. They said black hole. They are actually very stuck. Because this energy required to create this is real infinity, they do not know how will it come. So you have to go one step behind, then they are stuck somewhere. They are not able to logically explain that. I mean, there are very different atoms happening now. The black hole theories are all there.
Subatom.
Yeah. So somewhere they get stuck actually. They are not able to explain everything neatly. They are not able to explain. Om Tatsaditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Akshara Brahma Yogo Nama Ashtamodhyaya. We will start the 9th chapter is one of the beautiful chapter, Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga. In fact, the second triplet of Bhagavad Gita is about bhakti. We already are seeing Krishna is saying, after explaining so much of trillion years and so on, he dismisses all of them by saying, you have bhakti, you will cross all these. What appears to be an insurmountable kind of an idea, he dismisses it by saying, have bhakti. So there are some beautiful shlokas, particularly the last 15 shlokas in the chapter. First 15 shlokas are more some conceptual ideas in chapter 9. The last 15 shlokas are real grand. Patram pushpam palam toyam. Again, it is misinterpreted. I will explain it in some detail because people have grossly misused this shloka. At that time we will see it, but there is a spirit of bhakti which is so beautifully explained in chapter 9. Why it is required? Because there is the pinnacle of this whole discussion, which is the next pair of chapters called Vibhuti Yoga and Vishwarupa Darshana. Unless we get the spirit of bhakti, we will never appreciate those next 2 chapters. So we will see chapter 9 next week. Thank you.